Hare Krishna and welcome everyone for the class. This month we are doing special Purushottama month Gita Saram, and we are trying to cover Purushottama Yoga chapter 15 from Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. So we covered 4 verses last week. Does anyone remember anything from the last week? And before we go, Manju, is your relative Saumya? Manju? Manju, can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes, Mataji.
Okay, sure. All right, thanks. Just checking. So, Saumya is your sister?
No, she is a daughter of my sister. My sister name is Anju.
Okay. Welcome, Saumya, Anju, everyone.
And yeah, Tejas.
Tejas.
3 members, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for joining our class. All right. So just for the benefit of just for the benefit of the newcomers, maybe I'll start and recap what we discussed last week. And also, you all sound like you can't remember. Anyway, I'll just recap it. Okay, so Purushottama Yoga is very, very special, and it's like it's a pinnacle of your Bhagavad Gita, we could say, because if we study this one chapter, we will understand the glimpse of the entire Bhagavad Gita, what we should know. Okay, and it is very confidential knowledge Krishna gives that to Arjuna, and we are so fortunate to receive the same knowledge as it is because of Srila Prabhupada. If he has not translated it from Sanskrit to English, then we would we would have not at all come across Bhagavad Gita. Even if we had come across, we would have referred to the Bhagavad Gita with different commentaries, not the commentary as it is, how it was spoken to Arjuna. So verse 1, before we go that, I'll just summarize. So first 5 verses of this chapter 15, Purushottama Yoga, will cover the material world. Okay, I'm gonna go one by one on that. So how the material world, how it is situated, and how can we get detached from this material world? What is the weapon or the tool that we should use to get out of this material attachment? Okay, that is 5 verses. And then next 6 to 11, we will talk about how we go how we come to this material world over and over again. On and on we take birth and then die and then take birth again. So that process is called transmigration, transferring from one body to another body based on our karma, based on our deeds, past deeds. So that is from verses 6 to 11. And then verses 12 to 15, it will talk about Krishna, how he is the maintainer of everything, whether it's material world or spiritual world, how he is the maintainer of everyone and everything. We will learn that also. And then 15, then after that 16 to 18, 16 to 18 we will cover 3 slokas, very important slokas. Krishna will summarize the Veda and Vedanta. So if you study all the Vedas, 4 Vedas and 108 Puranas, 18 Puranas, 108 main primary Upanishads, Itikasas, if you study all this, what is that you wanted to know or what you will come to know? Okay, that will be given as essence by Krishna in this chapter. And then 19 to 20, Krishna, knowing Krishna means knowing everything. So that we will also study. See, there are only 20 verses. We covered 4 verses. In the first 4 verses, what we covered is Krishna is telling Arjuna a metaphorical example of there is a upside down banyan tree. So there is a upside down banyan tree, Arjuna, and this is nothing but a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. How a tree, if you go to the river and there is a tree on the banks of the river, and it will reflect on the water, and you will see the image, the reflected image of the tree on the water, and if you believe that is the real tree, then we are at fault, correct? So Krishna is clearing the illusion of Arjuna's knowledge. But we need to understand one thing is, Arjuna is not bewildered, and even though it is it is depicted in that way just because we can all learn that knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. If Arjuna was not put in the mode of ignorance, he was not in the mode of ignorance as such, like we are most of us, at least me, or almost all the time in the mode of ignorance only. Ignorance means tamoguna, sattoguna, rajaguna and tamoguna are the three modes of material nature. We are all getting influenced by these three modes of material nature, depending on the time and place and circumstances. And if you are in the temple, you are most likely to be in the mode of goodness, because the vibration you receive, people you see, everyone will be almost in the same boat, right? Mode of goodness. And they wanted to be purified, they wanted to have a clear sense of mind, everything. And if you go to a theater or pub, most likely you will be in the mode of ignorance. And if you are in the middle of the city, traffic, and you're going to the office and you're very in the rush mood of getting something done in the office, so that mode of passion. So this is how the three modes are divided, and sometimes we will be in two modes at the same time, and sometimes three modes at the same time. It depends, okay? It depends on, again, time, place and circumstance, and how we are influenced and what knowledge we have, etc. If you are really situated in transcendental knowledge, even if you are in the middle of the pub, you will think, how I can give Bhagavad Gita knowledge to these people who are in the mode of ignorance, correct? That's what Srila Prabhupada did when he went to America. He saw people, the hippies, he saw they were so much addicted to the drugs and the women and everything. So Prabhupada, was he affected by those circumstances? Did he go to the mode of ignorance? Not at all. He was actually in mode of pure goodness, and he in fact gave the Bhagavad Gita transcendental knowledge, which is again in the mode of pure goodness, to those fallen souls, and then they became spiritual masters, and we now take shelter of them, because taking the path of bhakti, it doesn't discriminate who you are, whether we are a dog or other animal, or brahmana or vaishya or sudra, whoever we are, whether we are a Malaysia means who eat meat and who have very low and bad qualities. Doesn't matter whoever we are, if we take to the path of transcendental knowledge, which is Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, that in fact teaches us bhakti, then we are well situated, and we can bring ourselves, we can elevate ourselves from mode of ignorance to mode of goodness, and then eventually to the mode of pure goodness. So that is the goal, okay? The goal is to love Krishna. That is the goal. So to love Krishna means, because we are all trying to love each other in our family members, but do we get the reciprocation of love as we expect? We love them, we think we love them 100%, but do we get the same 100% of reciprocated love from our own loved ones? Not at all. Not all the time. Even if we get 100%, not all the time, not always. It has ups and downs, right? But with Krishna, when we show our love to him, the reciprocation is not only multiplied, it is actually unlimited, and it is eternal. It is always there. That is why we feel satisfaction when we chant this Maha Mantra every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when we chant this Maha Mantra, we are actually connecting ourselves, the heart to heart. You know how you connect USB to the computer, then you get the data. Like that, when we connect ourselves to Krishna through this chanting, by loud chanting, not soft chanting, by loud chanting as much as possible, not too loud, not disturbing your neighbors, but just as loud as to that you can hear yourself, not that you're disturbing someone, just to hear yourself. And then that way it purifies our mind, our heart, our consciousness, everything. Okay, so that is our goal, develop bhakti for Krishna. That is our human goal, not just my goal or your goal. The purpose of human life is to love Krishna, to surrender to Krishna. So this chapter will tell us the idea of what is material world, because we are sitting in this material world, correct? And what is spiritual world, and what is the connection, and how can I get out of this material world? What should I do? As I mentioned already, the 20 verses will cover all those topics. So first 4 verses we saw how this banyan tree upside down, it is nothing but a reflection of spiritual world. What you see in the spiritual world is just the reflected, perverted reflection, means opposite. So you see love in Krishna world, which is Krishna Loka, but here you see as a lust in the material world. Okay, and the other thing is, when you see the banyan tree has roots and branches, so roots are down usually and branches are up, but because it's opposite, this is opposite again. The roots are upwards and the branches are downwards but going up again. So it is said, the banyan tree, it's like the top of the banyan tree is Brahmaloka. So there are 14 planetary systems in material world. There are so many unlimited material universes, and each universe where we are right now, each universe has 14 planetary systems, right? So we are in the Bhuloka, which is the middle planetary system, and there are 6 above and there are 7 below. So like one above is Bhuvarloka, where ghosts live, and then Swargaloka, where the heavenly beings live, like demigods, and then Bhuvarloka, Swargaloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, Mahaloka, Satyaloka, which is the Brahmaloka. And then down is like lower planets. Up is upper planets, and then we are middle planet, and the lower is the lower planets. What are they? Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Padala, there is Talatala also. So these are the planets. Okay, these are 14 planetary systems, and each planetary system has their own deity, presiding deity, like Brahmaloka is Brahma, like that. So, and Indraloka or Devaloka, or it's also called Swargaloka, where Indra is the presiding deity, like that. So what happens is, we as an individual living entity, we are jivas. Currently we are in this material body. When we die, we take another body based on our karma we performed in this life and our past lives, correct? Say we do lot of activities, walking, talking, eating, blinking our eyes, sleeping, and all. When we do all these activities, we are knowingly or unknowingly disturb other living entities, or even kill other living entities. When walking, we kill ants, for example. We don't even know that we are doing it, but we are doing it. For that there is a reaction. One may question, why I haven't done it intentionally? Sorry, Baba, there is law of nature. Regardless of your knowing or unknowing intention, the law of nature has to give justice to the ant, because you kill the ant. The ant might have a family and they might be in lamentation, correct? So they need justice also. That is why law of nature in place, regardless of our position, our intention, whatever activity is there, there is a reaction that is provided. So we will take birth in different planetary systems, or or in the same planetary system in different species. There are 8.4 million species exist in the entire creation. So 8.4 million species, there are 900,000 types of sea animals. There are 400,000 types of humans. So that you can take birth as a human look like this, or maybe human look like a tribe. We don't know. There are 400,000 types mentioned in Bhagavatam. So we might take birth as an ant, because we killed an ant. We have to take birth as an ant and suffer. So because of this law of nature, we are taking birth and then living our life, and we go through our old age, disease, and then die. And then after that we take birth again in another species. Okay, so like that we pass through different branches in the tree. So the tree is a metaphorical example for a material universe, and then we take birth in different areas, like different branches. Okay. All right. What happens is when you understand the leaves, the twigs, everything is like a they are. It is said leaves are Vedic hymns. Okay, and the banyan tree is there is a banyan tree. It is imperishable. That is the material existence always existing. It is just us as a person take birth in the material body that is perishable. Okay, so we take birth and birth again and again. So this is going on. It's going on always, eternally, we would say. But once we understand this tree is a material world and we don't belong here, we belong to the spiritual world, in the spiritual tree, then we get out of this material world. Okay, through knowledge only we can detach ourselves. So verses 3 and 4 tells us that let me read it. Okay, when we understand this knowledge, what is the benefit? We will become detached from this material tree, this banyan tree. Okay, so that is asanga. Sanga means attachment, asanga means detachment. So attachment for sense enjoyment and lording over this material nature is very strong, correct? So when we learn detachment, how? By hearing. What we are all doing right now is hearing Bhagavatam. So when we hear Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, when we hear Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, anything about Krishna who gives us this eternal knowledge, the transcendental knowledge, and by reading and hearing we will get the knowledge, right? And then we will automatically be detached from ourselves from this material association. Okay, so it doesn't mean you are detaching yourself from your family members or any office work. No, it is not like that. It is all about your consciousness, how you are seeing this world. You see this world and you understand this material world is it's just temporary. Okay, so material creation is always there, but the forms in the material forms, how you see a building or a human and that form is not eternal. That will be destroyed over the time, correct? So you see this and understand this and you'll get problems in your life. You understand, yes, it is expected. So your consciousness is changing, your perception towards this, how you see this world is changing. Why? Because of the knowledge you received from Bhagavad Gita. Right? If you do not have this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, you see the world and there is some disaster, there is a calamity, there is a havoc, and suddenly you are depressed, you are stressed out, you are anxious, and you think that world has fallen apart and you are just doomed. You don't have anything, any way to get out of these problems. But when we see through Jnana Sakshu, which we will see in the future verses, when we see through Jnana Sakshu, that is the knowledge through Jnana, the seeing things through knowledge, Vedic knowledge, then we will understand, yes, there is a problem, I understand and I expect it. I didn't expect this exact same problem, but I know the problem will come and go in the material world like summer and winter. It's out of our control. What is in our control is how we see things, correct? How we handle things. So if we are in the path of bhakti, Krishna gives us the knowledge. We will see that also, knowledge, memory, intelligence and forgetfulness. So we will see, and we will see through that, we will see the world through that knowledge, and then we will be fine. We will still be peaceful. We will not be agitated. Our mind will not get agitated. Okay, so next we will see verse number 5. निर्माणमोहजितसङ्गदोषा आर्यात्मनित्यविनिवृत्तकामः द्वन्द्वाविर्विमुक्तसुखदुःखसंज्ञायैर्गच्छन्ति अमुदाः पदमव्ययं तत्. Translation. Anyone can read translation, please?
Okay. And
Yeah, fifth verse, yes. Translation, please.
yeah, those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender upon the Supreme Person, attain that eternal kingdom.
Yes. See, material world is dvanda. So if you see the word in the verse, dvandavai, dvandavai. So vimuktaha, that means vimukta means mukti, means liberation. Vimukti means fully liberated. From what? Sugha dukkha, happiness and distress. So in our life, in this material world, we all have to face this happiness and distress in our life. They come and go, correct? And when we do not have enviousness, the false pride, that we all, if we think that I am this body, if we do not understand we are the spirit soul, we are not this body, then that is atmanyana or atma vidya, correct? When we don't have that basic understanding about ourselves, then we will see everything through bodily conception, correct? With bodily platform we will see things. So if anything happens to our body, we will become very depressed. Yes, we need to take care of the body, but the soul is more important than body. It doesn't mean you are actually refusing to care about the body. It is not like that, but you just do what is needful to take care of your body. But the soul's need is to give bhakti to Krishna, perform transcendental loving devotional service to Krishna. That we need to understand, correct? So when we don't have this enviousness, pride, anger, greed, envy, lust, illusion, all those anarthas, also we freed from the dualities in this material world, that is happiness and distress, profit and loss, success and failure, man and woman. So we see all these dualities and then we get bewildered, we get confused. But we understand that duality is there in this material world, but I'm just out of it. You see everything equally, okay, without any agitation. If you are successful in your life or successful in your job, for example, you're fine. And if you're not so successful, you're still fine. So that kind of mood, the consciousness we have to develop. Yes, it is very difficult. Someone insults you at work and you will be reactive, correct? It's not that we'll be like dhira and without agitation you're just fine. No, you will be agitated, your mind will be agitated, you want to say something. But when we practice this bhakti, what happens is you will become indifferent to the situation. Okay, so what happens is those who are free from these false identification, and we understand everything is eternal, not everything, the spiritual path is eternal, and I'm done with this material world, right? And know how to surrender. So they only know how to surrender to the Lord. Okay, we are so fortunate, even though we are still in illusion, at least some of us, or at least me, still in the bodily conception of our life, still we get agitated, still we know the path of surrendering to the Lord, even though we are not fully surrendered to the Lord yet, but we know if we surrender to the Lord, we will attain the eternal kingdom. Okay, so that is there, and we'll move on to the okay, all right, we'll move on to the 6th verse. So anyone wants to read?
Please, Mother. So the translation only?
You can read Sanskrit verse also.
It must, I think it will be not clear, but I'll try.
Yeah, just try. It's okay.
Okay. Na tad vashyate suryo sasanko na pavakah yad gatvah na nivartane tanse tad dharma paramam mama. The supreme abode of mind
is not illuminated by the sun or the moon, nor by the fire or the electricity. Those who reached it never returns to this material world.
Okay, so what we have learnt so far is unless one attains the spiritual world, he must continually take birth in this material world again and again through the process of transmigration. Okay, that's what we are going to learn. And in the first verse, sixth verse in chapter 15, Krishna is now talking about him. So he is saying that in the supreme abode, that is in spiritual world, they don't have sun or moon or fire or electricity as like how we have here. So why? Because Krishna is so effulgent. He gives the sun, he gives the light to the Brahma Jyoti, where Brahman effulgence is called Brahma Jyoti, and the spiritual sky. And from him, the sun gets the light, and from the sun, moon gets the light. Okay, so there is no additional facilities like how we have this solar panel, fire, like electricity, fancy lights. No, it's just Krishna only. When Krishna is present, everything is illuminated. Therefore, there is no additional necessity of other things, the light from other entities. So, what other things we can learn from here? I'm just checking. So, Prabhupada in this purport, he talks about this Golaka Vrindavan, which I already mentioned, that, it's all effulgent. And it is said, if you take a circle, 1/4 of the circle is the material world and the 3/4 is the spiritual world. Okay, so only tiny piece is material world. Even in the tiny piece, 1/4, if you take a cake and if you cut one piece, 1/4 of the cake piece, sorry, I don't want to remind you about the cake piece, but anyway, I love cakes, everyone loves cake. So if you take that is material world, and that material sky, it has unlimited material universes. So you can imagine then how big would be the spiritual sky. Okay, and Prabhupada also mentions about there are two kinds of living entities. One is conditional and the other one is liberated. When we are all conditioned, because we are conditioned by three modes of material nature. You know how you put an air conditioner in a room, and you give a condition to the air conditioner machine that give heat or cool air, and keep the room within this temperature. Okay, you are giving a condition, and the air conditioner has to work according to your condition. Similarly, we are in this material world, and the law of nature is always monitoring us what we are doing. Of course, Paramatma, that is Krishna in everyone's heart, he is monitoring us. He is witnessing our every action and thoughts, thinking, willing, feeling, acting, everything he is monitoring, he is witnessing, correct? And the law of nature is facilitating our desires. Okay, and this because we are conditioned, we feel like we have to serve our body. And when we are in the liberated state, we understand that we don't need to serve our own body, but we need to serve Krishna. Serving our own senses means we are addicted to our own bodily conception, correct? We need to serve, we need to feed our body. Yes, it's like a car. You have to maintain your car by putting petrol in the car, and you need to maintain the car, water in the car, engine check, everything. Whatever you need to do for the car. But you are not the car, correct? Similarly, we have to maintain our body, but we are not this body. Just maintenance is required to keep ourselves connected to the Lord. Okay, so why this information of the supreme abode is given to the conditioned souls? So when we know how great the spiritual world is, then we will be desiring to go. For example, if you're not watching movie, but the trailer comes when you watch TV, the movie trailer comes and attracts you, captivates your mind, and think, oh, maybe this could be a good movie, maybe I should check it out. And you get this attraction, and then you might go one day and watch that movie. Right? Just a crude example. Similarly, when Krishna, whenever he comes to this material world, he performs his pastimes. Why? To attract those souls who are in the mode of goodness. Because mode of ignorance, people don't see Krishna as the Supreme Lord. So for example, Arjuna was in mode of goodness and he saw Krishna as the Supreme Lord. And Kamsa, he was in the mode of ignorance. He saw Krishna as his own enemy. Correct? So how we see Krishna? Krishna is one. Like sun is one, Krishna is one. But how we see that? Right? And also Krishna is not partial. Like sun is not partial. Sun is giving the light to everywhere. But if you are inside the cave, you don't want to come out, it's not sun's fault, it's your fault. Correct? So Krishna is everywhere. And Krishna gives the love to everybody. Whether we are an atheist or bhakta, he equally gives everyone everything. But of course, based on your karma, what you deserve. But when we are in bhakti, Krishna will personally intervene in your life and direct you to the path of bhakti quickly. But if we don't take shelter of Krishna, what happens? We will be taking shelter of our own mind. That is Maya, that is illusion, correct? That means mind will always trick you. Mind is not illusion, but mind will give you illusory thoughts, thinking, oh, you are very good, you do this. You don't need to read Bhagavad Gita, watch some movie, enjoy yourself. Don't need to get knowledge. There is no life after death. It gives you a lot of this mental concoction. So you need to, your intelligence has to be very alert and very knowledgeable. So you can tell your mind that, you know what, just stop it. I have to do this. Okay, for my own purification, for me to get to the spiritual world, I need to do this. That's why Krishna giving the glimpse of what spiritual world will look like and what is it there in there. So he gives us the knowledge, so we'll get attracted to it. So how Krishna consciousness helps us? Okay, so only, it's not that you need to wear saffron cloth or you need to go to the forest. You simply need to be attached to the devotional service to the Supreme Lord through chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, hearing Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, and speaking. So by doing all these activities, you can automatically get connected, and therefore you can go back to spiritual world. Alright, and then how to work in Krishna consciousness. So associate with devotees who are in love with Krishna. Okay, if you want to, I believe I mentioned this example quite often. If you want to become a chess player, you need to have association with the person who is very good at playing chess. Or if you want to become a tennis player, the same thing, tennis player you need to have association with. Okay, and if you're not doing that, apparently you are not going to develop any more love towards your passion, right? So you need to have association with the devotees who are in Krishna consciousness, who are very much devoted to Krishna. Then you will get the attraction, you will get the inspiration, and you will follow in their footsteps and try to do some things that they are doing, but you are doing in your own capacity. Okay. And there is a word paramam mamam. So that is referring to the spiritual world. That's the last paragraph. So if we read that every nook and corner is the Lord's property. Correct? So some people say, I actually renounced everything. What did you renounce? You don't own anything anyway. Then what did you renounce? Everything belongs to Krishna. So we don't own anything. When we took birth, nothing that we brought. What did we bring? Nothing. The body was given by our mother, but ultimately given by Krishna. Everything, the soul, everything is coming from Krishna. Then what is that we are renouncing or detaching ourselves from? Right? So we need to have that understanding. Alright. So we move on to the next verse. Mamaivamsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manah sastana indriyani prakriti stani karshati. So karshati is the important word, struggling hard. So why we are struggling hard? The living entities in the conditioned world or my eternal fragmental parts due to conditional life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. See, what happens is we are so much conditioned, right? But Mamai Vamsam Jivaloke means we are Amsas. Mama means Krishna, that is Krishna. He is telling this verse, right? Amsa means you are all my Amsa. Who? Jiva Loke. Everyone in this Loka, all the Jivats, are my Amsa. But you are conditioned. You are not liberated. You are conditioned. You are conditioned by these three modes of material nature. And you are always part and parcel of me. We discussed this example. Remember that there is a gold mine and there is a gold little piece. So the quality of both gold, the gold in the gold mine and the gold in your gold biscuit, say for example little biscuit you have, gold biscuit, the quality of the gold is the same, but the quantity what you have is little, but the gold mine has enormous amount. Similarly, Krishna is the whole, but we are the part and parcel of Krishna. Okay, and to maintain our existence in this material world, we are struggling so hard. Okay, and here Prabhupada in the purport, it's a long purport. So let's see. So what is that we are doing is with this minute independence we have. Okay, Krishna is fully independent, he is Varat. But we have this minute independence. With the minute independence we make our decisions, and sometimes, most of the times it's wrong. We go in the wrong path. So because of that minute independence, why Krishna gives that minute independence? Because he wanted to, purposely he wanted to give us all. So we can choose whether we want to go to Krishna or we want to stay in this material world. Okay, we are there are Krishna's energy or primary energies, or he has unlimited energy, of course, he has unlimited potency. Three primary energy or internal energy, Antaranga Sakti, then external energy, Bahiranga Sakti, and then marginal energy, Tatastha Sakti. And we, the Jivas, or Tatastha Sakti. We have, because of the minute independence, we have a choice to go and join this internal energy of the Lord, that is Bhakti, doing Bhakti, or external energy of the Lord, which is Maya, by performing our material sense gratificatory activities. That is up to us. Okay, so that, but what happens most of the time is we forget about Krishna and misusing this minute independence, right? And then we struggle for our existence. So Prabhupada gives the activities, how chief driving agent for conditioned soul is mind. That is the center of all senses is the mind, actually. So mind, when the mind in the mode of goodness, it performs good activities. And mind in the mode of passion, it will make troublesome activities. And it is in the mode of ignorance, that's when it will make us to travel to the lower species in our next life. Okay. So, so in second chapter we already discussed about how Krishna is the supreme, and we are part and parcel. Of course, here is the main verse that we study where Krishna is the supreme and we are part and parcel. But we, the spirit soul, we cannot cut into pieces. Remember that we studied in chapter 2, and we are still studying, actually. We haven't finished chapter 2. But that is also mentioned in this purport. That is here, Dehino Ashmin Yata Dehe, how when the baby is born, it becomes a toddler, and then a little young boy, and then a man, teenager, and then man, and then old man, and then he becomes very old and deceased, and then die. So we studied all that, right? And how we change our body, like when the shirt is no longer useful, no longer in the wearable condition, you change your shirt. Like that, we change our body when the body is no longer useful. Okay, and we don't know that, but law of nature will know. So how do we know whether it's useful or not, right? Sariram yat avapnoti yat chapi utkramat ishwarah grahitva samyati vayurgandhani vashayat. Translation: the living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits to take another body. Okay, so Prabhupada one time said there was a man, he was so much attached to the family, and then he took birth as a cockroach in the next life in the same house, family house. So this is because strong attachment we have. Someone wanted to, one Prabhu was telling, one person, if for example one person wanted to go to America in his life, but he died before going to America. But because his mind has stored this strong desire that he accumulated to go to America, in his next life, if he had some punya karma, he will take birth in America. But because he didn't have enough karma, punya karma, to become a human, so he became a dog in America. See? So that Prabhu was saying, yeah, it is not a bad idea to be a dog in America, because people to take good care of American dogs. But in India, the dogs are, most of the dogs, like in the street, correct? So in America, they take good care, like in Western countries. So he was saying like that. So when we struggle from one body to another, that is called the word karshati. And here the analogy or the metaphor or analogy used by Krishna is how the air carries that fragrance. Like there is a rose flower, you don't smell the rose, but naturally, of course the nose is there, but there has to be aroma coming from somewhere, which is carrying, that air is carrying that aroma. So like that, what happens is, this material world, living entity in the material world carries his different conception of life. That means subtle body, his mind, his intelligence and false ego travels from one body to another with the soul, depending on what you have stored in your subtle body, that is your desire. So let's go to the verse number 9, I believe. Yes. Anyone wants to read just the translation?
The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects.
So it is again said, if someone is so interested in eating animals, okay, his sense objects, his senses are so attracted to particular sense objects. So he wanted to enjoy eating crocodile, for example, or some kangaroos, whatever, animals he was interested to eat. And his desire is always like that. In the next life, he will have suitable body, because as a human, you're not supposed to eat animals, because your job is to be inquisitive, seek the spiritual truth, seek the absolute truth. Why I'm here, why I have taken birth as a human, while there are so many living entities taken birth in different bodies. Have you ever questioned this? Why this? Why tree? Why these many trees? Why these many animals? Why not all humans? Why not all animals? So, we have different scientific questions now and then, but we have to seek out for the spiritual truth under the Vedic guidance, not just by your own mental speculation or academical scientific evidence or hypothetical truths. No, that is not true at all. Because they said in Darwin's theory, what we discussed, remember? I don't know if we discussed this in this class, but in Science of Self-Discovery class, we did discuss that in the audio that I was posting in WhatsApp before. So in Darwin's theory, Darwin was saying that the man come from the ape, and then there was a bear, it became a whale, and then there was a deer that became a giraffe. If you keep reading Darwin's theory, you will be laughing. What kind of joke is this? And even he arranged to give falsification fossils to prove his theory. It was not even proved, and in fact it was proved false, and he was doing fraudulent activity. It was forgery. But people don't read thoroughly and just come to a conclusion. Yes, humans came from an ape. Maybe Darwin has come from a monkey, but not us. That's what someone said. I think Srila Prabhupada, someone said. So this is ridiculous how you can come from another animal, another species. It's just eternally, these species, 8.4 million species always existed. Devi Devadas are one kind of species. Humans are one kind of species. And even in humans itself, as I said, there are 400,000 different species within human itself. And then there is 1.1 million species in beasts, and then birds, and then aquatics, so many of them, correct? So you could take birth in one of those, and to come to the human life, human body is very rare. It is said that we have taken birth in all 8.4 million species to come to the human form. But what do we do after taking birth in the human form? We behave like an animal. We eat animals because animals are supposed to eat animals, like tiger, jivasya jivo jivasya jivanam. That means every weaker living being becomes food for stronger living being. That applies for animals, not for humans. We are supposed to eat patram pushpam phalam thoyam. Krishna says in chapter 9 verse 26. We are supposed to eat fruits, vegetables, grains, milk, dairy, which gives some wholesome nutrition. That's what we should take. But people misconception is they think, oh, I'm getting this vitamins from red meat, the B12 or whatever, B vitamins from red meat. But do you know you're also getting karma, bad karma? Because what law of nature will do is, because you are eating like a tiger, I'll put you in a body where you will get suitable digestive system, because human body's teeth doesn't have canine teeth. We don't have the digestive system designed to eat or digest the animals. So maybe you're not suitable for human body anymore. Let me put you in the animal body with the suitable ear, tongue and everything, so you can enjoy. That's what you do. You want to do, let me put you in there, then you enjoy this. So when we take up this Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says is our consciousness will not only become pure, but what happens, we will go to eternal world, Krishna Loka, correct? Because our consciousness is so adulterated here, because of what material contamination around us, we are not getting the truth, spiritual truth. That is why we need to hear Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and everything. So I wanted to finish up to 11th verse, so that we will cover the transmigration section. So quickly we'll read the translation. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. See, it's not easy. This is what Jnana Shakshu. Here in the verse, if you see, Pashyanti Jnana Sakshu. Pashyanti means seeing. In the eyes of Sastrikal knowledge. When we see in the eyes of Sastrikal knowledge, then we will know, oh, we are not this body, we are this spiritual soul, the spirit soul, and we are in this body, but we need to utilize this body to purify ourselves, our consciousness, so we can get out of this material world. So how do we get this knowledge? Only by approaching how Arjuna submitted himself sincerely to Krishna and accepted Krishna as his guru. Like that, we need to follow the instruction of bona fide representatives of Krishna. Not just anyone who speaks Bhagavad Gita is okay, bona fide. No. Who speaks Bhagavad Gita as it is, like Srila Prabhupada, who translated as it is. So we read from his book and we understand as it is. Okay. So our attitude of conscious, the attitude of conscious devotees, I'll just read it. Highly developed Krishna conscious individual try their best to give this knowledge to people in general. See, not only you follow Krishna consciousness, but you give others also. Okay, more you give Krishna to others, more you receive Krishna within your heart. Correct? More purification you will receive personally. because we know this conditioned life is very troublesome. Okay, one day we are happy, another day we are very sad. Okay, and we sometimes we don't even figure out why we are sad. This is how, especially with COVID virus situation, it is going so crazy that this is totally absurd what we are going through at the moment. Okay, the only solace we have at the moment is to hear Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita and associate with devotees. Okay, that is the only way we can do. But of course we do other things, but that is for our existence. To maintain our existence we have to work, we have to cook and everything, but our consciousness is always getting corrupted because of these material calamities, material exposure. So that is why we need to, how you get dirty, you need to take bath. Like that, when we go out to the material world, then we have to come back and hear Bhagavad Gita and purify our heart and soul. Like we have to cleanse ourselves. So we have to liberate ourselves. See, if your hands are tied, my hands are tied, I can't help you to get out of your binding, correct? But if someone whose hands are not bound, then they can come and release both of us, correct? That is why the liberated person who are already following Krishna consciousness very nicely, they can liberate us from this material world, not that we can do it ourselves. That's why we need to surrender to the self-realized soul. The 11th verse, yatanto yohinaschainam pashyanti atmani avasthitam yatantopi akaratantmano akarat atmano nainam pashyanti acetasaha. Translation: the endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization can see all this clearly, but those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. See, when we know this world, material world is dukkhalayam asashvatam. Chapter 8 we will see ashashvatam means temporary, shashvatam means permanent, ashashvatam means temporary. Dukkha alayam, how we say bustahalayam means the place of books, the library, and like that dukkha alayam means the place full of miseries. So kunta means miseries, Vaikunta means no miseries. So that is where we are aiming to go, because this material world is dukkhalayam asashvatam, correct? It is not only misery, full of miseries, but it is permanent, it is temporary. The world itself is temporary. What we see, everything is temporary. The relationship we have, the position we hold, everything is temporary. But what happens is, when we take up this bhakti, swalpa apiyashya dharmashya trayate mahato bhayat, when we take up this bhakti, even if we perform only little bit in this lifetime, then what happens, we will continue from where we left. But with material world, you earned $1 million in this lifetime and you deposited in the bank account, say National Australia Bank or ANZ, whatever. Next birth you come and ask for the same amount because you remembered somehow that you saved money. Will they give you? No way. They'll say get out of here. They'll put you in the mental hospital. Correct? Why? Because the material position, the material sangha, whatever that association we had materially, it is temporary only. It will die when you die. But with bhakti yoga, the pure devotional service that we perform to Krishna, even if it is very minute, it will continue from where we left. It will continue in the next life. Okay. So let me say any other points. And bhakti yogis are actually the self-realized souls. But sometimes the yogis, Ashtanga yogis, Jnana yogis, what they do, they are self-realized to an extent, but they are not fully self-realized. Okay, they are partially self-realized. They know that we are not this body. They know they are spirit soul. But they don't know there is a personal relationship you can develop to Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord in the personal form. They don't have that personal relationship. And they don't enjoy the Leelas of Krishna. When we hear Damodara Ashtakam, when we hear Damodara Leela, how baby Krishna stealing butter, feeding monkey, and all, we laugh. The Jnana Yogi is like, Ashtanga Yogi is like, They are very strict. They don't have that personal connection with the Lord. Okay, all right, I'll stop here. So we discussed transmigration today. So how a soul transmigrates from one body to another body based on his karma and his subtle body, what he saved in his memory, that will be the desires that will be transferred to next body. Why? Until his desires are fulfilled, Krishna want to make sure, just fulfill all your desires in the material world itself and then come to me without any material desires. We can have spiritual desires. We can have spiritual desire to eat spiritual prasadam, spiritual prasadam, pizza prasadam, but not material desires. Okay? Alright, I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions?
Mataji, I have one question.
Yes.
As we were discussing, we have for lokas like Bhuloka, then above that there are Swargaloka and all.
Yes.
Between Bhuloka and Swargaloka, you were saying there is a Pretloka, like where the Pret lives.
Yes, Bhuvarloka, yes.
Bhuvarloka. So why Bhuvarloka is above Bhuloka?
So it's not, see, when Brahma designed it, he chooses whichever alignment he wanted to assign. It's not necessarily its upper planetary system but other upper planets are really in high quality, yes. But Bhuvarloka, I don't know why he did it that way. There are ghosts live there who commit suicide. They go to the Bhuvarloka until they get the body. They live there. And I do not know, I haven't studied the details of the loka itself, each loka, the details of it. For example, the lower planetary system, even though we say lower planetary system, but they are very opulent as well. They are better opulent than Bhuloka. Like Sutala Loka is very opulent. Like that, there is subterranean planet also under the lower planetary system. So it's not designed in way that suffering will be there in lower planets and enjoyment in upper planets. Even in upper planets also there is suffering. Regardless of which planet we are, as long as we are in the material world, we are suffering only. So yeah, I really don't know why Bhuvarloka was kept above us. And if I come across, I'll let you know.
Yeah, so I mean to say, like, is there, like, we are saying lower lokas and upper lokas? So,
Yes.
So are we comparing with the Bhuloka or there
Yes.
is a quality?
No. Just comparing with Bhuloka.
Okay.
Yeah. But there are hellish planets down below as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Rasatala, like Atala, Vitala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rastala, Patala, there is Sutala as well. So in that there is couple of places where demons reside, Rakshasas, Yakshas, like that. So yes. And they have opulent planet as well. So they live opulently, like very rich as well. Yeah. But only Bhuloka is suffering so much. That's why Devi Devadas wanted to come here so they can practice bhakti here better. Because the chances in lower planetary system is less of practicing Krishna consciousness because they are suffering so much. When we are suffering so much, we can't focus on bhakti. And upper planetary system, chances are very less for practicing Krishna consciousness because they are very rich and opulent and successful and everything is so jubilant. So they're not interested in bhakti either. So only in Bhuloka you get both. You get a slap, you get a rose as well. So you are like, oh, hang on a minute, what do I do? Then you take up bhakti because you know that I'm happy one day, not happy another day. So you'll take up bhakti.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Any other questions? Okay, so if no questions,